Ronald Read died with more than $8 million. That statement sounds impossible because Ronald Read spent most of his life working as a janitor and gas station attendant. And yet, when he passed away in Vermont, people discovered that he had quietly built a fortune larger than many doctors, lawyers, and executives ever achieve. The shocking part is not that he became wealthy. The shocking part is that he did it while practicing habits that almost nobody talks about and avoiding habits that millions of people repeat every single day without realizing the damage they cause. Most people believe that becoming rich is primarily about earning more money, getting lucky, starting a successful business, or finding some secret investment strategy. But the truth is far less exciting and far more important. Growing up outside America, nobody ever explained this concept to me. But after studying the American financial system, I discovered that many wealthy Americans follow a set of behaviors that look boring on the surface, but produce extraordinary results over time. And by the end of this video, I will reveal the single habit that connects almost every real-world wealth-building story ever told. And once you see it, you will never think about money the same way again. In the next few minutes, you will learn why earning more money often fails to solve financial problems, why some habits quietly destroy wealth even when income is increasing, and why ordinary people like Ronald Read and Sylvia Bloom manage to build multi-million-dollar fortunes without extraordinary salaries. Most importantly, you will learn which behaviors are holding people back and how small changes can create dramatically different financial outcomes over time. Let us begin with a story that explains everything. Ronald Read and Sylvia Bloom never appeared on magazine covers, never launched billion-dollar companies, and never became famous investment experts, yet both quietly accumulated fortunes that shocked almost everyone around them. Ronald Read worked blue-collar jobs throughout his life and lived so modestly that many people assumed he was struggling financially, while Sylvia Bloom spent decades working as a legal secretary and carefully observing how wealthy professionals managed their money. When Ronald Read passed away, his net worth exceeded $8 million. And when Sylvia Bloom revealed her fortune, it was worth approximately $9 million. Neither story was built on lottery winnings, inheritance, or extraordinary income. Both people simply avoided common financial mistakes while consistently practicing behaviors that allowed money to grow over very long periods of time. The lesson is surprisingly simple. Wealth is usually not destroyed by one catastrophic decision, but rather by small habits repeated year after year without attention. And that brings us to the first habit keeping millions of people poor. The first habit keeping people poor is lifestyle inflation, which happens when spending increases every time income increases, creating the illusion of progress while financial freedom remains exactly where it was before. Imagine trying to fill a bucket with water, while simultaneously making the hole at the bottom larger every year. No matter how much additional water enters the bucket, it never seems to stay full because the extra income disappears into bigger expenses, newer purchases, and higher lifestyle expectations. According to Federal Reserve data, income alone does not guarantee wealth accumulation because household financial outcomes vary dramatically even among people earning similar salaries. Many individuals receive raises throughout their careers, yet remain financially stressed because spending expands at the same pace as earnings. Here is the thing most people do not realize. The new apartment feels justified, the upgraded vehicle feels deserved, and the additional subscriptions seem affordable. But when every raise immediately becomes additional spending, wealth never receives an opportunity to grow. Picture two coworkers receiving the exact same promotion. One increases spending immediately, while the other directs most of the raise toward investments and retirement accounts. 10 years later, their incomes may be similar, but their financial futures often look completely different. But here's what most people completely miss about this. Habit 2. Confusing spending with investing. The second habit keeping people poor is confusing consumption with investment, which is like mistaking a decorative plant for a fruit tree, because both look attractive even though only one produces something valuable over time. Many purchases create temporary excitement, but most consumer goods begin losing value almost immediately after purchase. A luxury vehicle, expensive electronics, or status-driven purchases may feel like financial progress, yet they often remove capital that could have been working toward future growth. Warren Buffett has spent decades emphasizing the importance of buying productive assets rather than constantly upgrading lifestyle expenses. And his investing philosophy remains remarkably consistent, despite changing market conditions. The difference is simple. Assets have the potential to generate future income or appreciate in value, while consumption usually requires continuous spending without producing future financial returns. The problem is that modern advertising encourages people to view consumption as achievement, making it easy to confuse spending with investing. Imagine investing the same amount of money that would otherwise disappear into rapidly depreciating purchases. Over long periods of time, even modest investment contributions can accumulate into surprisingly large amounts because money receives time to compound and grow. Now, this is where it gets genuinely interesting. The third habit is ignoring compound growth. And this may be one of the most expensive mistakes people make because the consequences are invisible during the early years. Compound growth works like planting a tree that eventually produces seeds which grow into additional trees, creating growth that accelerates over time rather than remaining constant. During the beginning stages, progress appears slow and unimpressive, which is exactly why many people underestimate its power. Historical data shows that the S&P 500 index has delivered approximately 10% annual returns over long periods, although future results can never be guaranteed. The important lesson is not the exact percentage, but the extraordinary impact that time has on invested money. Here is a question worth thinking about. If two people invest the same amount every month, but one starts 10 years earlier, who has the advantage? Most people assume the difference will be relatively small, yet the earlier investor often finishes dramatically ahead because time becomes a multiplier that cannot be purchased later. Growing up outside the United States, this was one of the most surprising concepts I encountered because very few people explain how powerful long-term investing can become when decades are allowed to do the heavy lifting. And this is where it gets interesting because the next habit destroys compounding before it even has a chance to begin. The fourth habit keeping people poor is treating financial education as something that can wait until later, which is similar to trying to navigate an unfamiliar city without ever looking at a map, because movement alone does not guarantee progress in the right direction. Many people spend years learning professional skills that increase income, yet spend almost no time understanding taxes, investing, retirement accounts, debt management, or wealth preservation. According to surveys measuring financial literacy across the United States, large portions of adults struggle with basic financial concepts despite making money decisions every single day. Jack Bogle, the founder of Vanguard, spent decades teaching investors that successful investing does not require complicated strategies, constant trading, or market predictions. His message was powerful because many people lose enormous amounts of time and money searching for shortcuts while ignoring proven fundamentals. The good news is that financial education does not require a finance degree. Spending just 30 minutes each week learning about investing, taxes, retirement accounts, and personal finance can completely change the quality of decisions made over an entire lifetime. Here is the piece that nobody talks about. Habit 5, allowing debt to control the future. The fifth habit keeping people poor is allowing high-interest debt to become a permanent part of life, which is like trying to climb a mountain while carrying a backpack that becomes heavier every single year. Debt itself is not always bad, because mortgages, business loans, and educational loans can sometimes create opportunities. But high-interest consumer debt often works against wealth creation by redirecting future income toward past spending decisions. According to Federal Reserve data, revolving credit balances represent a significant financial burden for many households, and the longer those balances remain unpaid, the more difficult it becomes to redirect money towards saving and investing. Picture this. Every dollar used to pay interest is a dollar that cannot be invested, saved, or used to create future opportunities. This is why debt becomes so dangerous over long periods, because it quietly steals resources that could otherwise be compounding for decades. Imagine receiving an extra $500 each month. One person directs it toward reducing expensive debt, while another continues making minimum payments indefinitely. The difference between those choices may not seem dramatic initially, but over many years, the outcomes become increasingly different. This is the moment where most people's understanding of money changes completely. We have covered lifestyle inflation, confusing spending with investing, ignoring compound growth, neglecting financial education, and allowing debt to control future income. But remember the promise from the beginning, because there is one habit connecting every wealth-building success story we discussed today. And that final lesson explains why Ronald Read and Sylvia Bloom achieved what millions of people never do. The single habit connecting nearly every successful wealth-building story is consistency. That may sound disappointingly simple, but consistency is precisely what transformed Ronald Read from a janitor into a multimillionaire, and what allowed Sylvia Bloom to quietly accumulate approximately $9 million while working as a legal secretary. Neither person discovered a secret investment formula, inherited extraordinary wealth, or built a famous company. Instead, they repeatedly made decisions that aligned with long-term goals rather than short-term desires. When people hear stories about wealth, they often focus on investment returns, income levels, or market timing. But the deeper lesson is behavioral. Wealth is usually the result of thousands of ordinary decisions made correctly over many decades, rather than one extraordinary decision made at exactly the right moment. This is why the habits discussed throughout this video matter so much. Lifestyle inflation prevents consistency. Excessive consumption prevents consistency. Ignoring compounding prevents consistency. Financial ignorance prevents consistency. High interest debt prevents consistency. And this is where everything comes together. The difference between people who build wealth and people who struggle financially is often smaller than it appears. One group consistently directs resources toward future growth, while the other repeatedly sacrifices future opportunities for present comfort. The gap begins small, but over decades it becomes enormous. That is the lesson Ronald Read spent his entire life proving without ever intending to become famous. If there is one idea I want you to remember from this entire video, it is that financial success is usually not determined by one dramatic moment, but by the habits you repeat when nobody is watching. Whether you are living in the United States, planning to move there, or simply trying to understand how ordinary Americans build wealth, the principles remain remarkably similar, because money tends to reward patience, discipline, and consistency far more often than brilliance. If this video helped you see your financial habits differently, share it with one person who needs to hear this message, because that conversation could change their future. Your future wealth is being built by today's habits, starting now.